Welcome to the One to Another podcast. My name is Joanne Petrie, and today we're going to talk about in the grieving process when you're working through your losses, why it's important not to look back, but to begin to look forward. So we'll talk about this today and see if maybe I can give you a few helpful hints on how to do that. When we accept Jesus' invitation, we don't know where we're going or how long it will take us to get to the encounter we have with Him along the way. But what we do know is that He will never leave us or forsake us. Following Jesus is a journey, moving from one place to another, not necessarily geographically, but always spiritually. Furthermore, to follow Jesus, we have to go where He's leading. As much as we can't spend our time looking back to where we once were, while simultaneously trying to look forward to where He's taking us. That's pretty hard to keep looking back and then looking forward. In Hebrews it says, "Let's fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfection of our faith, who for the joy set before Him endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider Him who endured such opposition from sinful men, so that we will not grow weary and lose heart." I think we all agree that it's shocking how we can be moving forward, full steam ahead, and suddenly life throws us something our way that changes everything, whether everyone in the world or just us. If we're not prepared for how we're moving through these times, and get our vision moving forward, we can get stuck looking back. We can get stuck in places we never intended to find ourselves, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, relationally, financially, or physically. We can get stuck just about anywhere in life. We can, can't we? It isn't interesting. We might find ourselves in our grieving process that we feel like, we're going forward more, but then, the unexpected happens. And sometimes we want to crawl up in a nice warm blanket and wrap it all around us and just stay and not move forward, but look back and reminisce and reminisce. And I think we have to take a look at sometimes why we get stuck. Number one is we like where we are. It's comfortable. We don't have to work at our grief. We don't have to do anything. We just like where we are. And the other one is we're scared about the future. When we think about we are going to move forward, we're thinking, well, where is this going to take me? When we may not want to let go of what we love. When we're wronged. When we're hurt, when we're disappointed, either at ourselves or the situation, when we're numb from trauma that we've endured, when someone has betrayed us, when we're tired out, when we're overwhelmed, when we're discouraged, when we're distracted. It's amazing how in grief we can get so distracted. When we're wounded, or when we're hopeless. Sometimes when we stop and think about what we've experienced, how can we not get stuck in disappointment, unforgiveness, bitterness, offense, fear, guilt, anxiety, indifference, mistakes, sheer heartache? We just have sheer heartache about being where we are. It's easier to stay stuck than to risk moving forward to what it might come to, like stepping out to something unfamiliar and feeling even more uncomfortable. Maybe experiencing more hurt, more disappointment, more suffering, more betrayal. We need to first learn how to stop looking back and start looking at Jesus. We need to invite Jesus in to help us get unstuck from the places we never were meant to be. We need to start moving forward in a way that ensures that we're successfully pursuing all the plans, purposes, and promises God has for our lives. We need to do this repeatedly in every area of our life. And this is something that we need to remember. Remember The world has changed, but God hasn't. And we need to say that a lot because when we're in this process of letting go, not looking back, moving forward, it seems like everything is in turmoil in our heart and our mind. And we have to remember, the world has changed, but God has not. Well, you remember the story. Maybe you do and maybe you don't, but it is in the Bible. And it talks about remembering Lot's wife, a woman who appears long enough in the Bible to disappear, has the shortest bio ever, a woman whose proper name we don't even know. What is about her that we are to remember? She was told one thing: don't look back. And the one thing she was told not to do is the one thing she did. But Lot's wife from behind him foolishly, longingly looked back towards Sodom. And in an act of disobedience, she became a pillar of salt. She looked back longingly in an act of disobedience. What was it that she longed for exactly? What did she so deeply desire? Maybe it was her home. It made her feel safe and secure. Maybe it was her friends, her routines, her extended family. Maybe it was her position in the community. Everything she had grown attached to, she was forced to abandon. Maybe she's trying to preserve the past, something that's all too easy to do, because memories can be distorted. Have you thought about the word linger? The word linger means to be slow in parting, to remain alive through gradually dying. Lot's wife must have not had any idea that looking back would cause her death. But it did, didn't it? I think about my own life, that when I sold my house after Ron died, had to sell my house and find some place to live and move forward. And I have shared in one of the podcasts the tough time it was for me to leave the house that I'd loved living in for many years. But I do remember that as I was doing my final goodbyes and saying goodbye, the two friends were there and they were in the garage, and I got in my car, backed it out in reverse, and waved goodbye to them. And as I turned the corner, I knew that I was not to look back. And that's an interesting place to be. You've just left a home, your husband has died, you've just left a home you loved, and he's saying to you, don't look back. And I can honestly tell you that when I turned the corner and I knew that I should not look back, I started to cry. And I cried. I cried all the way to my new cottage. I cried all night because I knew that I was learning something. It was hard to let go of all the precious things, but I needed to let go. And it was interesting as I was finally working out that concept from my head to my heart to my feet. I thought about it several days later, and I thought, most of my friends know exactly what my car looks like. And so if I would have decided, well, I'm going to be disobedient, I'm going to go back and see what's happened. Did they take the flagpole down? Wonder what's happening. They've moved in. How many changes have they done in the front? And I was thinking that, if I went back to that house when I was told not to, and I'm just, sitting right in front of the house looking at it, and all of a sudden, where's Joanne? She's not here anymore. Well, I don't know if I'd look like a pillar of salt, but let's just say one of my friends who knows me and loves me thought, I've tried to call Joanne on the phone, but I can't get her. I wonder where she is. And all of a sudden she thought, I wonder if she went back to look at her house. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen, so don't get uptight about it. I'm just saying how sometimes when we're given a direction and we're told not to look back, and we do, I wonder what happens to us. I think it's a tough place to be. But just say it. So I went and looked at the house, and my friend comes by, and there's my car, but there's no Joanne. Well, I was disobedient. But there's this draw sometimes, and I think that Lot's wife felt that draw from what she was told not to look back. And that word linger, to be slow in parting, to remain alive through gradually dying. To linger, to remain alive though gradually dying. Lot's wife may not have had any idea that looking back would cause her death, but it did. You have to remember that Sodom was fruitful before it was destroyed. It was compared to the Garden of Eden. Everyone who lived there had abundance, but the people were taking it for granted. In the scriptures it says, "Now this was the son of your sister Sodom. She and her daughters were arrogant, overfed, unconcerned. They did not help the needy and the poor. They were naughty and did detestable things before me." That's what it says in the scripture. "Therefore, did away with them as you've seen." That was in Ezekiel 16:49. You know, some people in Sodom prized and idolized their comfort. They returned what they received for the benefit of themselves. You know what? Many of us may have some real estate in Sodom. Turn a blind eye to the needy, full of self-centeredness, that we must pray and intentionally choose to do otherwise. We need to learn how again to give and receive. So, are you longing for something that once was, that's no more, that can never be again? Are you lingering in places where you should not be lingering? Are you lingering in a place and longing for what was? You had a wonderful life. You had all that you needed, all the while tolerating what is, in hopes that if you linger long enough, you might get back what God told you to leave. Moving on is something we know we should do, and at times refuse to do it. But it is something God eagerly wants for us. If you keep looking back, you'll say, "I'll miss the rest of my life and all the plans and purposes God has for me." I know that that's true, that good friends and strong relationships are a crucial component in helping us keep moving forward. So glad God always has a way of putting people together for His glory and for His mutual benefit. In the Bible, we are relatives, acquaintances from different generations who are all thrown together because of a mission, and then we become friends. Many times in the support groups or in the grief classes, that we all come in from different places, but there's a bond that happens. We're learning that we all have grief. And as we learn how to let go of our pain and not look back, we become friends. So glad that we have friends. Remember the story of Aaron or Hur, who held up Moses' arms when he no longer had the strength to do it himself? It says, "When Moses held up his hand, Israelites prevailed. But when he put his hand down, the Amalekite prevailed. When Moses' hands grew weary, and they took the stone and put it under him, and he sat down on it, then Aaron and Hur supported his hands, one on one side and one on the other, so that his hands remained steady until the sun went down. So Joshua defeated the Amalekites and his army with the sword, but they won the battle by being together." When Jesus walked on this earth, He didn't do it alone. When Jesus sent the disciples out, He sent them 2 by 2. Jesus chose to be His friend. Let that sink in. No one has greater love than this, to lay down his life for his friends. "You are my friends if you do what I command you. I do not call you servants anymore, because servants don't know what his master is doing. I've called you friends because I have made known to you everything I've heard from my Father. You did not choose me, I chose you. There's no greater friend than Jesus, and no friendship more precious than his. Yes, we need friends on this earth, and we want to be a great friend, and we want to seek out friends. But above all, let's seek to be a great friend to the one that made the greatest sacrifice of all, redeemed us, and brought us into friendship with God. So, who are your friends? Well, we need people who are walking alongside us, exhorting us to keep moving forward and helping us not look back when looking back is all we want to do. Who will remind us from time to time? Remember Lot's wife? Who will love us unconditionally and genuinely, wants us the best for us in every way? Who will inspire us and make us better in every way? Well, I know who that is, and that's the people that encourage us to keep on keeping on. So it says in Hebrews 10:21 to 25. So let's do it. Full of belief, confident that we're presentable inside and out. Let's keep a firm grip on the promises that keep us going. He always keeps his word. Let's see how inventive we can be in encouraging love and helping out, not avoiding worshiping together as some do, but spurning and telling us, come on, we can do this because that day is going to come. When the roll is called up yonder, we're going to be there. And we need to have all of our friends know we want them to be there too. So we need women who will tell us what to do when we can't figure out the next step. Friends who know how to tap into the strength of Jesus to help us. Women who are strong enough and men spiritually to lift us up and carry us when we can't move. People who can get us into the presence of Jesus. People who can help us go from weariness to strength, from despair to hope, from chaos to peace, go from the wrong path to the right one, go from confusion to clarity, go from indifference to passion, go from heartache to happiness, go from disappointment to joy, go from, I want to give up, I want to go on. Go from, I don't know the answer now, but I have a plan. You know, I believe men and women need friends to stand with us, to walk alongside us, to believe in us as we navigate changes, as we step out in a new adventure, as we don't know what we think we're capable of doing. Many times, our friends believe in us more than we believe in ourselves. And I do know that's true, that sometimes we may feel like a failure. We may feel like, I just can't do this. But you know what? Your friend's there to say you can. Be the friend you hope to find and start there. But don't stop there. Put yourself out there. Be approachable. Take some initiative. Go places where you're mostly like to meet people who may be compatible with you, but not necessarily who are like you. God often strengthens us by surrounding us with people who complement us, not people who are like us. God is a God of abundant grace, and one of the greatest gifts he gives us is friends who help us keep moving on the purposes of God. You know, I was raised in a family where my grandma played the piano. We had a player piano, but she could play the piano too. But one of the songs that we would sing on a regular basis, standing on the promises of God, standing, I'm standing on the promises of God. And it's wonderful that we have people all ages, grandmas, younger people in our life, middle-aged people, children. We are thankful that we have people in our lives that can help us when we want to turn back and we know we shouldn't, that we need to turn forward. So my question to you is, what strengths do you see in your friendships? How can you be a better friend? Are you a slouch? Or are you willing to stand up for what God wants to do in your life this year? Just remember Lot's wife. Lot's wife had doubt. She had disobedience, and a lack of fearing God were signs of spiritual slouching. Are we looking up? Let us run the race that lies before us, keeping our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. Are we getting up or getting up? You know, sometimes we just want to give up, but we need to get up. It says in the Bible, "Get up, sleeper, and rise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you." So are you standing up? For this reason, we need to take on the full armor of God so that we can resist the devil. And prepared for everything that's going to happen to us, we take a stand. In our friendships, slouching can happen when we stop following through. We stop asking questions, and we stop reaching out and responding, refusing to build again, trying again because of what has been set before us. It is far easier, again, to give in than to stand up, to get going in God's direction. God wants us to change our posture and move in bold faith. Rising up, especially rising up again. Sometimes when we fall down, we just have to brush off the bruise and say, okay, I'll get up again. It's not easy, especially when we're tired, winded, or we've been wounded. Comfort is comfortable, and rising up is not. But the good news is our ability to rise is not based on our strength, but on the one who renews our strength as we wait on him, is greater than who that's in the world, is strong when we're weak, mighty in power, makes us strong in the strength of his might, has promised us he will never leave us or forsake us. And we need to remember that, because that's true. God is a person who wants to be in your heart today and wants to help you stand up again. So if you can learn from Lot's wife not to look back, but to take a step forward, then remember that there may be a stronghold in your life that you want to demolish. Because I've learned that complacency that coasts, comfort that recoils because of cost, compromise that moves us off the course, a quest for worldly success that leads us setting our eyes on an empty prize. If Lot's wife would have responded to her moment of decision through the eyes